It's Sunday. It's 8 p.m. It's time for the Sit Down with LB. Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. Welcome to another episode of the Sit Down with LB. I'm your host, as always, LB. I wanted to give a shout out. I don't know if you can see it today. This is Roberts Trucking. This is the company of one of my best friends on the planet, Quincy Roberts, one of my closest confidants, and this is someone who's just always been supportive of me and everything. Former roommate in my wedding, my fraternity brother, singer, all of the above. So just wanted to give a shout out to my buddy Quincy Roberts. I'm back for another week, and of course, as I always say, I'm so enjoying it. And thank you for my supporters: Lily Guerrero, Maria Antoinette Freeman, Ann Arnstein, Jim Lieberthal, Selena Perryman. You're always here, constantly supporting me. Margaret Jones. There's an echo in the sound. Why is there an echo in the sound? There should not be. Why is there? Can you see? Can you hear an echo? There should not be because I have headphones on. Can you hear me? Anyway, hopefully we'll figure that out. But anyway, Margaret, are you sure it's not your computer? Okay. Anyway, thank you all for being here. I don't know if you all can see, but I'm kind of growing my hair out. You can tell me yay or nay. I think no, because you can see so much white in my hair. Kevin Miller is probably sitting at home with no shirt on. Kevin is one of my very dear friends. Hello, Linda Childs. Hello, all of you that are here. I have an incredible guest tonight. No echo. I have an incredible guest tonight in the person of the wonderful baritone, Verdi baritone extraordinaire, Mark Rucker. Hello, Mark.
Hello there.
How are you doing there, sir?
We're holding up in the house.
Where are you now?
We're in we're in Okemos, Michigan.
Okay, Michigan. Well, I'm from the great state of Ohio. You know, normally we don't really like people from Michigan, but it's because of that other school. You know.
That's all right.
How long have you been up there in Michigan? A few years?
We've been here since the 2016.
So 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay. And how was that adjustment moving from where? Were you in New York City?
We're in Jersey.
Okay, you were in Jersey.
Yeah. So couldn't wait to get out.
You
no.
You couldn't wait to get out. Why not?
Well,
why could you?
I probably get in trouble with everybody from Jersey now. No, I just felt like it was time. And,
oh yeah. How long did you live in Jersey?
We lived there for 30 years.
Oh my gosh.
In a 2-bedroom apartment.
Oh my gosh.
That we saw occasionally.
Well, mostly you lived out of your suitcases in other places.
Yeah.
But it was nice being close to New York, was it not?
It was. My wife enjoyed it a lot. Mm-hmm. Maybe not me so much, but
well, where are you from that you would feel that New Jersey
I'm
is
from Chicago.
You're a Chicago guy.
Yeah, I'm originally from Chicago. But I'm halfway kidding. I actually do enjoy New York. But it was time.
Well, how far was it from which part of Jersey did you live in, and how long did it take for you to get to the city?
Oh, well, if you just talk mileage wise, it was 40 miles. Now, if you talk about how long it took me to get there, it all depends on when you decided to leave. You could get there sometimes in 20 minutes, and you could get there sometimes in 4 hours.
Oh, really? Oh,
well, you know the traffic situation.
Oh, yeah. Well, I lived in New York. When I lived in New York, I lived right on 48th Street between 8th and Broadway. So that was in my bachelor days, when I was trying to do it big.
Not even going there.
But that quickly changed, and then I moved to Atlanta, Georgia. But no, I loved New York when I was there. I did. I loved it, and people thought that I was like in the middle of, what do they call it, Hell's Kitchen. But for me, I love the fact that everything was so close and accessible. I
Well,
don't
it
know.
is. No question about it. I mean, unfortunately, when COVID happened, that had to be the most unbelievable feeling of not being able to do anything.
Right. But I've talked to my New York friends now, and they say that it's not as bad as it was when COVID first started. So
No.
hopefully things are starting to creep back
Yeah.
to
Well,
better
our
than
wonderful
normal.
son still lives there, and he's they're trying to get back to normal.
You have a son who lives in New York?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
He's an artist. He works for Armani for a day job,
Oh, nice.
and he sings.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Chip off the old block, huh?
No, he turned to be a tenor.
Bless him.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about. Okay, I know we have Shy Maya Barbara Wright Pryor in the house, and so she
Oh,
definitely is representing Chicago. And let's talk about Chicago. That was the
that's my
beginning,
mom.
right? Yeah, that's her. She's everybody's mom, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Chicago. Yeah. Well, when you grow up in Chicago, there's two things that happen to you. One is that you don't realize that there are other groups of people in Chicago because when you live where we lived, it was just black people. Uh,
Right,
right.
right.
It
Which
was
part of Chicago?
South Side.
Okay.
It's. I was born on 71st Street in Ingleside, and which is not too far from Kenwood High School, where I went to school in the high school.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my father was a conductor, choral
Okay.
conductor, and an orchestral conductor. He also was a bass baritone.
Okay. So
Which
he was a trained musician, not
he was a
just.
trained musician. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. And my mom was actually my mother was a contralto. Uh, and I thought, boy, with all these people with these really low voices, I should have a lower voice. Didn't happen that way though.
You're like you knew what you were gonna be when you were a kid, right? You're like, oh, in about 10 years, I'm gonna be deeper than my father or something
No,
like
I knew
that,
what I was
right?
going to be when I was a kid. I was going to be a football player.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
but
Are
that
you a big? Are you a football fan?
I am. I am. I played for a while in high school,
Okay. Which position?
halfback,
Okay.
and then my teacher came on. And
Change that, huh?
yeah, really changed it immensely. Because I mean, I sang in the church choir and that kind of stuff, and my
Mm-hmm.
brothers, two of my brothers are huge in the Adventist church as far as musicians go. They both play piano and organ and stuff like that and sing. My sister is an incredible gospel singer. I was the only one
Okay.
stupid enough to go into opera.
How many of it? So you said how many? You have three brothers and one sister?
I have three brothers and one sister.
Okay. I have three sisters. No, four sisters. Oh my gosh, four sisters and one brother.
You be very
So
careful.
it's six of us, four sisters and one brother. My oldest sister is Cynthia, and we're all within like 7 years. Six kids in 7 years. Can you
Oh
believe
yeah.
that?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
And which one are you? Are you first or second or
I'm in the
third?
middle. I'm in the middle.
Okay.
I'm like third.
Okay. But you said your brothers are musicians and your sister as well is a musician?
Yeah, they're all musicians. None of them are professionally that way,
Mm-hmm.
although they could easily be. But
Mm-hmm.
they're wonderful singers and play the piano much better than I do, uh,
Okay.
and have been very supportive of what I decided to try to do.
Really? They never scratched their head and thought, you're supposed to be singing in the Seventh Day Adventist Church and not singing opera.
Oh, I'm not going to say they didn't say that. I just didn't hear them.
When did you know that you were gonna like pursue classical voice? Was it like a teacher that you had in high school, or
Yes, yes. That was Lena McLean. Doctor, excuse me, Reverend Doctor Lena McLean, I should say now. She, I was playing football, as I said, and I was also playing saxophone.
Okay.
My father's actually my mother's sister's husband gave me a saxophone because he tried to teach me how to play golf and it didn't work, so he gave me the saxophone. Uh, and so they, I took the saxophone and I started learning how to play the saxophone, and I began to play for a group that was involved with the choir at school. So I played with them, and then I was standing along the side, and they were doing the "Close to You" by the Carpenters,
Okay.
and I was humming along with it and everything. And all of a sudden, she stops. Now, if you anybody that knows Lena, she is about 2'5". Uh,
Sounds like my family.
yeah, yeah. Until she gets mad at you, then she becomes a giant. But
Okay.
she stopped the choir and she said, "Mr. Rucker, come over here, please." I grabbed the saxophone, preparing to go to play for her. She said, "Leave the saxophone." I said, "Oh, okay." She said, "Sing something." I said, "No." She said, "Sing something or none of us are leaving." This was the last class of the day, so people were a little bit edgy. And I kept saying, "No, I don't sing anymore. No." And she said, "No, sing." And so finally I sang something. They all laughed. And I went home dejected.
Oh my gosh.
Went home to my father. I said, "This crazy woman was there. She just embarrassed me. I never want to see her again." Uh, and he said, "Who is the crazy woman?" I said, "Lena McLean." He said, "Oh, oh."
You knew
So,
of her, right?
well, she played for him.
Okay.
So he knew her very well.
Well, she knew you. Well, she knew of you because of him.
Right. Right.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So I thought I was going to be reprieved from him. So anyway, I went back to sign up for football again for the next term, and they said, "I'm sorry, you can't. You failed music theory." I said, "What do you mean I failed music theory? I have very good grades in music theory." So, "I'm sorry, no. The teacher said you failed, and you have to take this up with her." Well, I can't begin to tell you who that was. And so I went to her. I said, "There's been a misunderstanding." They said I failed, and of course I did. She said, "Yes, you did. And the only way you're going to get a passing grade out of this if you join choir." I said, "This is not fair. This is blackmail. I'm not doing this." So I won out. I go to my father. I said, "She's blackmailing me to be in the choir." He said, "Well, you have a choice." He said, "You can either be in the choir and play football, or you can not be in the choir and not play football." And at
Mm-hmm.
the time, I really thought that I was going to be something special as a football player. So well, okay, fine, but I'm not saying anything, and it's ridiculous. I go in, and eventually I start singing a little bit here or there. And she finally announces to me out of the clear blue, she says, "You're going to sing at the Met."
Oh wow.
And I said, "What the heck is the Met?"
What is a Met?
I thought she was talking about the museum. I don't know what the hell.
Or the baseball team, right?
Yeah,
The
the
Mets,
The
right?
Met. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. And so she said, "You're going to sing at the Met." And I said, "Yeah, okay. It's just a crazy little black woman. Leave me alone." She then proceeded to make me do all these competitions and things. And finally, I made my Met debut in 2004. She
Oh
was in,
wow.
she was in the front row.
Oh my gosh.
So
I
I
know that
have
was special, right?
lived that down since then. Uh, so see, I have actually three mothers. My birth mother, and then I have then Lena is my mother number two, and then Barbara is number three.
Wow. I have to. Is Lena McLean, Dr. McLean? Is she still with us?
She is still with us. She is not doing as well physically as she used to.
Okay.
I've talked to her on occasion, and she's doing well. Um, and of course, I sing her music all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's right. She wrote the spirituals. I actually bought a new um. Well, it's a book of her spirituals not too long ago.
Well, right, yeah. And she wrote the King Cantata, which is an incredible piece of music.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, she's got more music probably in her closet than we'll ever think about ever trying to write. Uh,
Right.
but she's just an incredible musician, and she had people like Shaka Khan, she had Manny Patinkin,
Right.
Actually,
Nicole Houston. Yeah, Nicole Houston.
yeah,
Yes.
and several other people. But the biggest thing about Lena was that even if you didn't become a musician,
Mm-hmm.
you became something.
Wow.
You became a doctor. You became everything but dead.
Yeah.
You know,
Someone who pushed you and encouraged you to succeed and excel and to do the very best that you
yeah.
could do.
And
Someone
you
who
couldn't say
required a
no to
lot,
her.
right?
Absolutely, you couldn't say no to her.
That's what Barbara Wright said. There was no escaping her.
No, absolutely not. And, Barbara Wright, Pryor's son and I were very dear friends in high school, and she started us in a pop group of a quartet.
Oh, nice. What was
And
that like?
we had one concert, uh, but and it was great. The clothes we had were interesting, uh, and we all decided after that probably wouldn't be another thing to do was to have another one of those. Uh, but we all stayed very close friends.
Was Robert Sims a part of that group as well?
Robert Sims is younger than we are.
Yeah. Well, no, no, not the group, but Dr. McLean.
Oh yes, yes,
Yeah, he comes
absolutely.
from that same
Yeah,
tree. That same
absolutely.
tree. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful young baritone. I call him young because I'm just old. So yeah, but he's fantastic. And,
He is like the spirituals guy. I
he
mean,
is the man. He is
I
the man.
mean, he and Daryl Taylor and a couple of these
Yeah.
other guys, they have such a strong tradition in spirituals. Did you sing a lot of spirituals yourself?
I did. I did. I didn't get a chance to do an enormous amount of recital work. I did my fair share of it, but I didn't do a lot of it. I'm doing more now than before. But the opera world is, it doesn't give you a whole lot of time to get there. And for a while, recitals weren't selling well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I remember being in Philadelphia and there being a recital that Joan Sutherland was going to sing, and they canceled it.
Really, because it wasn't well
It wasn't
sold.
selling. It wasn't selling. This is Joan Sutherland of all people. Um,
Well, especially here in the states. Especially
right,
here in the states.
right,
In Europe, it seems like they have a much more. The concert tradition is a lot more supported over
right,
there.
right, right. I'm
But
hoping that's going to turn around, though. I love doing them now.
well, how much now are you performing? I know you're balancing both teaching and performing, but how much are you performing now?
I'm
And
not. I'm not doing an enormous amount of performing. Certainly nothing like at the height of my career. I'll do a couple of operas maybe a year,
hmm
and most of it is now doing concerts, that kind of thing.
do you try to stay on this side of the pond?
I do, I do.
hmm
Every once in a while I'll hop over there, uh, but I got to make room for younger people.
Yeah, but if you still got it, you got it, right?
Well, I keep saying that thing to myself, but who knows?
Well, if you're still being hired, then I think it says that
It says they don't know what the hell they're doing.
everybody else is busy, right?
They,
Not.
they couldn't get Leonard Warren. They could be. Cheryl's not
Matt.
available. They get
That
busy.
right, Cheryl. Right. Matt Polsdal says that you and he did Lucia at Michigan Opera Theater back in the early 1990s.
Uh-huh.
He said that was a treat. Of course, I'm getting Paula Equality Jackson. She's really shouting out Michigan State University. Kimberly Cooper says you still have it. The pop group wore seersucker suits and broke up after their very first concert.
That's right.
Mark,
That's right.
seersuckers, huh?
Yes. We were it. I'm done. We were
You knew
it.
you were doing something, right?
We knew we were doing it. We had no idea what we were doing, but we knew we were doing it.
Leon Brown says you have a fabulous instrument. Alan Fisher says go Mark. Look at all this support. You have all these people here. Paula Equality is really representing Michigan State University tonight.
Well, she is. She's fantastic. She's one of my students.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We have Tiffany Renee Jackson. She went to that other school in Michigan, so I won't mention it.
Well,
And Ben,
we love Michigan, University of Michigan. We love
I
teaching there.
I don't.
Yeah.
I'm from Ohio, and I
Yeah.
have to represent.
Did you go to Ohio State?
I didn't. I actually went to Indiana University, which is
Oh, another one. Okay.
another Big Ten school. But
Yeah.
I like to give people from Michigan all the grief I can, because that's
We
what.
give them grief when we have to play football again.
Let's talk about singing in Europe. And so, what percentage do you feel like you sang in Europe? I know you sang in many places across Europe. In It varies from year to year. But did you aim to sing in Europe a fair amount, or how did that work?
I aimed to sing where they were going to pay me.
Wherever they gave you the contract, right?
Wherever they said they're going to give me money, I was there. No, I didn't. The one thing I didn't do is I didn't take a fest.
Okay.
Primarily because I really wanted to be an American singer.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like if I took a fest contract, it would kind of hold me into a certain place.
Right.
And then I had at the time I had an agent, Rob, who said, "Don't take it. Don't take it. Let's work on getting you different jobs here for different places." And it worked out fairly well. I'd say that I probably sang half and half. I did more singing probably in Italy than anywhere. But probably half and half.
What were your favorite cities in Italy?
Oh gosh, Bologna.
Yeah.
I loved Bologna. Where else? I mean, I loved Rome, but I mean, there's Florence. I mean, yeah, you can't really find a city that you don't really like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the beginning. I'm in. I guess we're similar in that way because I spent a lot of time actually in Italy. Excuse me. In the beginning of my career, I went to Milan very early on, but then I went to Bologna, I went to Trieste, I went to Firenze, I went to Pesaro, I went to Reggio Emilia, all over the place. And so it was a place that I got to know because I was going there quite a bit. And so I would say like Italy does feel like a second home. And that's at a certain point I thought I would want to live over there, but obviously you never thought you wanted to live overseas.
No, I didn't. My wife and I kind of love this thing we have, even though recently it doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of love going around. But
Right.
But we just love being in America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I definitely one of these people that also would have, it's nice to have that what do you call it? Not bi-coastal, but bi-continental
Yeah.
career. But there's something special about being able to sing in the place where you were born. All of the social problems that we have notwithstanding, there's something nice about singing in the States. So let's talk about singing in the States. How many companies in the States did you sing in? Have you kept count?
Oh gosh.
Everywhere,
I have
huh?
no clue.
Everywhere.
Yeah. I've sung in a lot of them. I the one thing I did first of all was I did Maryland
Yes.
in 1882, whatever that was. Uh, and
When Moses was a freshman, right?
yes, he had the water. I did them, and then I went on tour. It was the first time I did Rigoletto. I was 24, and but we did a whole lot of them, and we went all over the place. I did the Western Opera Theater tour, and that kind of stuff. So I got a fresh kind of started singing that way. So, but I mean, there's not a whole lot of companies I haven't actually sung for here.
Yeah, it's been but Rigoletto at 24.
Yeah. See, I'm not one of those people that think you have to be a certain age to do certain things. If your voice is right for it, just right for it.
Nor do I.
Some people use that as a tool, and I suppose in most cases it'd be fine. But they hired me.
Yeah.
I said, okay, fine, good, I'll do it. What's a Rigoletto?
What's a Rigoletto, right?
Yeah, yeah. What do you mean I
That
got to
was
bend over? You know.
right. I mean, that's the first thing. The same thing happened to me. Someone told me, "You're a Tamino." I'm like, "What the heck is a Tamino?"
Yeah, right.
But that was my first introduction into opera. Do you remember any people that were with you in Maryland?
Sure. Michael Sylvester.
Yes, know him. Great
Together,
tenor.
he did the Duke. It was his
Yes,
first
great tenor. Great
100%.
tenor.
Uh,
Yes.
who
The
else?
Gilda?
The Gilda was Cheryl Parrish and Ruth Ann Swenson.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course. Ruth
Uh,
Ann.
and then who else do we have? I kept trying to think of who else was in that group.
Spadaffuccina, right?
Spatafuccio was a guy named Jim Patterson and Wilbur
Ash.
Pauly.
I
Uh,
think actually, do I know that name?
you probably do. I mean, Jim's been around for a long time, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean there are a number of people that were still working. That are I'm not, I may be the only one still alive, but no, I'm kidding.
Michael Sylvester's still around, isn't he?
Yes, he is, and he's
And
doing
Ruth
very
Ann
well.
Swinson, yes.
Yeah,
And so
doing very
you're
well.
not that old.
Yeah.
Good Lord, you're not that old. I mean, you're not old enough to be my dad, though. So there
Well,
you go, right?
all depends on when it started. Not bad. Look at bad joke.
Well, you could have been like footloose and fancy free at a young age, but
Indeed. No, I probably would have gotten killed by my parents.
yes. But doing that Rigoletto, that kind of lets you knew that like the world was your oyster, that you could do anything because Rigoletto at 24 is a pretty big undertaking. Did that shape
It
you?
is. It is. It wasn't that I guess because I didn't know any better. You know, I mean, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know that it was supposed to be hard.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
It just was easy.
it just was something I could sing. Uh,
Uh-huh.
and now, I mean, granted, at the time, um, I think I sang it better now.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's
in the character
clear,
development of it is better now than then.
obviously.
Uh,
That's just seasoning and
yeah,
being a veteran and learning your craft.
yeah. And I
But
never
what
really considered myself a Verdi and baritone. I just
but let
considered
me
myself a baritone who happened to sing Verdi.
well let me ask you this though. If they hired you to sing Rigoletto at 24, what did you offer for the audition?
Um, what did I offer for the position? Well, I see. I was part of the competition,
Mm-hmm.
the San Francisco Opera competition, and that came out of that.
And so you
So
sang what
I
then?
I sang Pagliacci.
Okay.
I sang the prologue.
See Paul,
Uh,
right?
Great, and I don't remember what else I sang. I'm thinking maybe Giancarlo. I can't remember. But
Yeah.
I don't remember the other ones. I just remember that one because my father had gone into a coma that night,
Okay.
and
Okay.
and I had to sing it, and I was so devastated by him going into a coma, but then somebody said, "Okay, well, what would your father think if you just stopped singing?" I said, "Oh, he'd kill me." So
Yeah.
I
So
finished
you
singing.
yeah. Well, obviously singing See Paul or whatever it was, you were
Right, it gave
singing
them
in that vein already, and so they knew that you had the goods to be able to sing something like Rigoletto at
yeah,
that
but
young age.
in some ways it's more. It makes your life a little bit more difficult when you start thinking about being hired.
Mm-hmm.
As and I think I said something before, but who wants to hire a Rigoletto who's never done it before?
Right.
You know? And who wants to hire, Scarpia? Who wants to, when you consider how much money goes into those productions,
Mm-hmm.
take that chance. So,
Yeah.
uh, I mean, I had
But
people that took some chances on me that I still appreciate it.
well, let me ask you this. I mean, in the meantime, while you're waiting for your voice or your body or your age, as a lot of people think, to catch up, what do you do in the meantime?
You get a job. You get somebody to pay you money thinking you exist. I got a job. I took a job as working in a video store. I took a job as a limo driver. Uh,
Wow.
I took a job. I probably shouldn't discuss that job. No, I'm just kidding. No, but you do what you have to do. You work and you get ready, and eventually, somewhere along the line, somebody will say, "Oh, okay, let's give this guy a shot."
Right, because again, someone who was, as you call yourself, a baritone who sang Verdi and not necessarily a Verdi and baritone, you know, if you know your voice is meant for repertoire like that, you're not going to sing Papageno or Malatesta,
Right, right. There
which
was
is
no
what normally young, let's call them youngish baritones sing. And
right.
so,
Yeah, no, I
yeah,
didn't. I didn't. I was never. Let's put it this way: nobody that heard me sing said, "Hey, here, you should sing Papageno."
right.
You know, they did. I think the lightest role I ever did was probably Marcello.
Oh,
Uh,
wow. And did that seem light to you?
didn't seem necessarily light. It just seemed empty. I'm going to get in a whole bunch of trouble with people that sing Marcello. Uh, but
You're like, somebody needs to die, or I need to be like screaming someone's head off or
yeah,
something.
I
That's
need to
just
kill somebody or something.
right. Somebody needs to die in this moment. Right.
Yeah,
But you did Marcello,
I
and of course you did Rigoletto. You did, of course, Pagliacci. All of these roles. Did you graduate? If you're singing Rigoletto, that's hard. It's hard to graduate to something bigger, if you want to call it that.
no, I mean, I pretty much stayed in that realm.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. I I think the next thing I did after that probably was um, well for a while I was doing Rigoletto and Antonio and keep getting confused by which side the hump was on. Uh, but I did those a lot. Uh, but I always felt comfortable there.
Mm-hmm. And when you sang those, your agent and you had this pretty much, you were lined up in your ideology. You just said, "This is what type of singer I am, and this is all I want to sing." He didn't pursue. He didn't ever say to you, "Why don't you think about doing Wagner?" or "Why don't you think about doing Mozart?" Or did he?
Oh, well, no. I mean, I've never discussed repertoire with an agent.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Okay. Do you
because
not believe that it's
for me, it wasn't something I wanted to get involved in.
mm-hmm.
This is where I was, and this is what I wanted to do. And I mean, look, I mean, I had people had opinions about what I should do here or there, and I would listen to some of them, and most of them I wouldn't. Uh,
right?
I mean, I did the Met competition, and they told me I was a tenor, and
They blessed you like that and said that you were a tenor.
they did, and I was too stupid to listen. Can't imagine how much more money I would have made then. I
Living in Tenderland, right?
indeed, I was just too dumb to listen. Uh,
They told you were a tenor.
they did. I sang the prologue, and they said I held the A flat too easily and too long.
Oh my gosh.
And so the ironic part, of course, is that the second opera I sang at the Met was Tonio
Right, exactly.
Pagliacci. So
Did you always have a real easy facility with the top?
I most of the time, yes, depending on what time I woke up. No,
Right.
I had actually come down in my father's choir. I was a tenor,
Okay.
and I would scream my head off trying to sing high notes, and because nobody else could.
Mm-hmm.
So the passaggio never really became a problem.
Mm-hmm.
No, I never had that break that I can remember. So it was always a little bit easier for me to do that. But then again, I had no bottom voice, so it didn't make any difference.
Well, how low could you? I mean, obviously, if you're baritone, you have to have some low notes.
You're supposed to. When I first started, the first job I ever got was doing a Messiah, and my father was conducting the Messiah, and I was
Mm-hmm.
singing, and I would get down to, "Oh, said the Lord of, and one to the door, and I would," you know, and and I said, "Dad, this is gonna be a problem. I can't sing those other notes." He said, "Don't worry about it. Just open your mouth." So, well, every time I got to a low note, you're like, "For he is a he would just sing, and his voice was 3 times the size as mine. So people go, "Boy, your bottom of your voice is really incredible."
Be like, man, when you get down there, it just rumbles.
Rumbles. Oh my God. What did happen? So it wasn't until I got older that the voice started to get some of the bottom to it.
It seemed to, as we say, modulate down in a way. Not that you lose your top, but it seems to settle a little bit lower, right?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
And what is the lowest role? Can you think of the lowest role you've sung where it became easier because your voice did settle?
Well, probably Amonasro.
Aida.
Amonasro is probably one of the lower Verdi and baritone roles.
Tesituras, yeah.
Because baritones and bass baritones can do that too. I did my first Dutchman, and that was, I don't think I would have been able to do that earlier.
Okay, you did Dutchman.
I did Dutchman. Yeah.
Oh, great! So you did do some Wagner.
I did. I did. I did that, and then I did Tannhäuser.
Okay.
But I wouldn't. It was odd because I wouldn't do that originally because first of all, I thought you had to scream your head off to sing Wagner, and I didn't do it for two reasons. One was an ethical reason that I thought that I said, well, would I sing something written by David Duke? And I said no. So I actually turned down a Wagnerian part once, and then they said, please listen to this. And they sent it to me, and it was Tannhäuser. And I said, that's not bad, but I don't know. So I called up a rabbi, and I said, please tell me what to do here. And he said, look, if you only sing the music written by the good people, you're going to run out of repertory fairly quick. So I took the job.
That was smart. You're right, though. You know, people ask me all the time about stuff like that, and I say, I like to think that if the composers were living today, that it would be okay. We can't go back in time and change what history is. And, of course, they probably didn't have a person that looked like me in mind when they wrote it.
Right.
But I'd like to think that if all these bel canto composers were living today, that they would say, you know what, Larry, I want you to sing my music because that's the style I write in. And so, some of those people probably were hateful. Some of them probably had problems against people that look like you and I. But here we are today in 2020, and we're both still performing. And I would like to think that that wouldn't be a problem if things were like they are today back then. So, of course, some of the things. Now, if some people's like death to all black people, then I'd be like, no, I'm not singing that. But
right, yeah, that would be a problem. I think that in some ways today, I would love to think that things were just that much different. I'm just not sure they are. I think there is certainly more avenues for black singers to sing, and I think that's great. But when I started out, I had a lot of help. I had people like David DiChiara.
Yeah, David, Michigan. Yes.
Yeah. I had Robert Lyle. I had
New Orleans.
I mean, I had Ian Campbell and
San Diego.
Osborne.
Oh my gosh.
Arthur Cosenza. These are guys who just believed in the voice. And if you could do it, and that's what they were after, that they wanted, and they hired you for that reason.
These were the people that made you believe in your voice, even when sometimes you didn't believe yourself?
Well, these were people who accepted my voice, who were not looking first. I sang so many different things with these guys that there was never any question about it. This was Rigoletto. It's so much funny. There was one case where a guy told my wife and I he just seen a Rigoletto, and it wasn't me because he had only seen me do it, and he said, "What's that white guy doing Rigoletto for?"
White guys aren't supposed to do Rigoletto? What the heck?
What the heck's going on here?
I thought it was a black role.
Yeah, really. So, but those are some of the guys that, I mean, I had a lot more help than that, but a lot, there was guys who just said, we don't care. We
Mm-hmm.
want the talent. We want the voice, you know. And even in Europe, it was the same way. I mean, Stefano Banzonis was another one that I
Yes. Now
uh,
he's in the Edge. I just saw
yeah,
him last year.
yeah,
Yeah.
just doesn't care. He just wants the talent. Now if I had walked in to sing for him and I sounded like Donald Duck, he'd say, "Well, we're not doing an opera for Donald Duck this year." You know?
The most, someone told me this early in my career. The most important thing is the voice.
Yeah,
That's why you should be singing on the stages. But obviously and you're just a few years older than I am, I'm sure that you've encountered some problems because of the color of your skin.
I probably have,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't care. I mean, if somebody doesn't want me to sing, there are a whole bunch of reasons that they can say that they don't want me to do it for.
Mm-hmm.
If one of them is because I'm black, well, have a nice day. You know,
Right.
I'm not going to sit there and waste my time worried about their hang up. Uh,
Right.
I mean, and if I don't get the job, then, I don't care. I just flat out don't.
Yeah. I had a teacher who told me that when you walk in the room, I'm not tall. Everybody knows that. I'm 5'5" and that's it. I mean, I sometimes I say I'm 5'6" on my driver's license, but it's Sunday, so I'm not going to tell that
And then
story on
they bring out the
Sunday.
ruler and go, wait a minute.
It's like before I get out of bed and before my feet sink down, I'm 5'6", but normally I'm 5'5" every day of the year. But someone told me that when I walked in the room, I had a couple things against me. I'm short and I'm black.
Hmm.
And they told me that you have to be better in order to be equal to some of these other people. And then you have to have something special. Did you ever think of yourself as knowing and being aware? Of course, we're keenly aware that some people are going to look at us for what we are, not tall black men. And so
Right.
it was one of these things that I worked harder. I worked harder because I knew I was told by a white teacher that you have to be better and then you have to have something special to win them over. Did you ever
Right.
have anything in your mind that informed you or made you think you had to do something like that yourself?
I just knew I had to be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if and when the opportunity would arise, I had to be prepared because if I wasn't prepared, they could have that as an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
They
It's
could
an
say,
easy
"Well, see,
excuse.
we gave him a chance, and look what
Mm-hmm.
happened." You know, uh, I don't ever question my own abilities by somebody else's opinion.
Great.
You
Love
know,
that.
uh, I am. Well, I shouldn't say that because my wife has a pretty strong opinion, but but
Bless
but
Sadie.
yes. So I have to really listen to that one. I tell people all the time. I knew how well the performance went by the way she walked to the dressing room. You know, if she stopped at the door of the dressing room, I was screwed.
You're like, it's going to be a long night tonight, right?
Yeah. But I mean, but I've had the opportunity to do. I spent my entire career doing roles that were not for quote unquote black people.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I mean, uh, I've done Iago,
Mm-hmm.
and so I don't, and I've never spent my life worrying about that. I can worry about a lot of stuff, but worrying about somebody thinks about me. And I say I've sung in Italy a lot. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Never had that manifest itself as a problem. Doesn't mean it didn't exist.
Of course.
Uh,
Of course.
One of
And
the greatest moments was I was singing, sharing Rigolettos with Leo Nucci,
yes.
and we went to see him do a concert outside of Firenze. Yeah, it was Firenze, and he said, "Mark, come over here. I want to introduce you to somebody." Well, he introduced me to Panerai and
Mm.
uh, Guelphi, the father,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Carlo Guelfi, the
and
father. Yeah.
he introduced me to them as this is one of us.
Oh my gosh.
And I just about wanted to die right there. I said, listen, it can't get any better than this. This is it.
Leo Nucci, When I made, gosh, this is 2002 or 2002. I made my debut at La Scala, and I wasn't supposed to sing with him, but I was doing the second cast, and the tenor, it was Juan Diego Flores. He pulled out, and so I got a call the week before I was supposed to sing, and it was going to be with Leo Nucci as Figaro, and he was over 60 singing Figaro.
Oh yeah.
And he was one of the most amazing colleagues I ever worked with on stage. I mean, he was absolutely Figaro 1000%. But more than that, his giving spirit, his support. I mean, he is truly a man of the stage. And so having worked with him, did you look at him and like learn from him?
Oh, I stole from him.
You're like, thank you, Leo. I'm taking that.
I'm taking that one. Yeah, thank you very much. This man was incredible. And the older he got, the better he sounded.
Yes.
You know,
I sang a concert with him last year.
Yes. Yeah.
In Russia.
Just amazing. Just absolutely amazing. And the dearest man. And he came to my performance and stood up and applauded.
Yeah.
And I said, does he have to go to the bathroom or something? What the?
You know, the interesting thing about him at Leo Nucci is a friend of mine. We were talking about Leo Nucci, and he said Leo Nucci, he had a heart attack, and I think he's 78 now. Somebody just wrote in the window that he's about 70. Yeah, at 78, he's 78 years old. But a couple years ago, after he had a heart attack, he told this maestro, he said, "I want you to hear something. I'm coming back from my heart attack, but I want you to close your eyes." So the maestro closed his eyes, and so Leo starts singing something slow and beautiful, and the maestro's sitting there, but finally he opens his eyes, and Leo Nucci is on the ground doing push-ups while he's singing it. That sounds like him, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. That's what you want to just say, Leo, shut up and get off the ground. Because the next thing you'd be expecting you to do the same thing.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Just amazing. I mean, I've had some wonderful times. I mean, there's another baritone that I just thought was just incredible. And this is where I learned what it meant to not get so caught up in what people think about you. I heard some time ago, Robert McFerrin.
Yes.
Robert McFerrin, I don't remember how old he was, but pretty significant. He had just had a stroke. And we were scheduled to all sing up all these black singers came up to Boston to sing. And after midnight, they announced that he was going to sing. And all I could think of was, oh, God, this poor man should be in bed. What the heck? And he got up and he said, what?
Excuse me?
Stop. And they put a microphone in front of his face, going, and then Sylvia Lee was playing for him, Olden Lee, fantastic pianist, and it turned out that he was going to sing Eddie too. And I thought, this could be bloody.
Watch out.
Yeah. And I remember a lot of baritones were sitting in the back, cringing. The man opened his mouth, and God came out.
Oh my!
It just was the most gorgeous sound I think I'd ever heard from a human being. Just absolutely gorgeous, flawless. I mean, we were all back there taking notes. I mean,
yes,
amazing. And I thought, considering all the things that he had to go through with his life, how could I ever complain? This man was rejected from places that the Met was going to. Fortunately, Bing was who he was, and would not allow them to treat him the way they wanted to treat him in the South. But I just thought, boy, there's no way that I could complain when this man went through what he went through and came out on top. Anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's so many. You talk about him, but let's talk about some of the other great baritones. Let's talk about Leonard Warren.
Well, Leonard Warren was my idol. I mean, my father bought an old sea shanty album of his. Arias and sea shanties. Thank you. Arias and sea shanties, and I just wore it out.
Really?
one side he sang all these arias, and I just thought no human being should be able to do that. I think I was 16 or something like that. I just, oh my heavens, this is incredible. I had never actually thought about opera until this moment, frankly.
So that was the voice that changed you?
Absolutely. By
Leonard Warren, huh?
Absolutely. Leonard Warren was amazing. And he, on the other side was these sea shanties, and they just wore the whole thing out. And I told my father, I think I want to do that. He said, well, go to school first.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did, got my degree in psychology. And then
a degree in psychology because you needed it for music.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
To deal with some of these sopranos, Lord have mercy, yes. I need a degree in psychology.
Yes, absolutely. Used it all the time. But that was how I got interested in opera, no question.
That voice just changed your life, essentially.
Yes, absolutely. He was a freak. He just did everything that nobody else could do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about Bastianini?
Bastianini was crazy. What human being? I tell people all the time. Some of my students tell them, God forgot somebody because he gave all that talent to Bastianini. But you had at the time, you had all of these incredible baritones.
Incredible.
And you had Cappuccilli. You had, and one of my all-time favorites, of course, is Robert Merrill.
Yeah.
And Robert Merrill made me understand that Americans could sing opera, and then Mac.
Yeah.
Mac scared me half to death. I went to the Met and I saw him do La Traviata.
Yeah.
And I have never heard a bigger sound in my entire life.
Really?
Than Mac Neal. And I thought, this guy's got to be over 8 feet tall. Just enormous sound. And he was singing with Contrabass and Domingo and all these people and just was
burying them.
The sound was unbelievable, gorgeous, unbelievable sound. And then I finally met him and I was looking down.
Oh my gosh.
I said, this is not the same person. Because I actually wound up singing with his son.
Okay, yeah.
And then his son married a girl that I wound up singing Rigoletto with, which McNeil came to see. And I just thought, he's here.
What was it like singing with him in the audience?
I didn't know.
Oh, are you happy that you didn't know?
In the audience. Yeah. I mean, Cheryl came to my debut at City Opera.
Right. That's another voice. I mean,
I didn't know that either.
Well, I mean, let's think about it. There is a long tradition of American baritones. Even a little bit later, Thomas Hampson, who's probably Thomas Hampson had an international career, and many other ones. Of course, you mentioned Cheryl Milnes.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of them. I mean, and there still are. Are. I mean, some of the great ones I've had a chance to work with, Donnie Ray Albert.
Yes, love Donnie Ray.
The late Andrew Smith.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there's just so many of them. And then, of course, my buddy and my friend and probably the greatest bass baritone I've ever heard in my entire life is Simon Estes.
Oh, the great Simon Estes.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
I actually made my debut at Carnegie Hall singing Forza del Destino on a concert version, and Simon was singing in that production. And I sat there thinking to myself, I'm singing with Simon Estes. Here's Paul Pliska, here's Salvatore Chitra, Gulagina. I mean, all these people. I was the only non-Met singer in the group, and I just thought, I'm singing with Simon Estes.
You're like, pinch myself. I have to pinch myself. I'm singing with Simon Estes
because the Met people were there.
Yeah,
and that's how I wound up getting into the Met. Was that?
Oh, well, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, we all know that real auditions are when you're performing.
Right.
That's the best audition.
Right.
Will you talk about what it was like to sing with one of my favorites, Pavarotti. When you
Oh,
won the competition,
yeah.
the Pavarotti competition.
I how should I put this? It was both scary and unbelievably rewarding. Uh, I never actually heard him live before that time. And
Hmm.
I'm standing next to him, and I just thought, my God, what did you do to get that voice? You know, I mean, did you taking drugs or something? Let me know. I want a
You're
piece of
like,
that.
not
Uh,
fair,
it's
not
just,
fair.
it's just not fair for somebody to be that good, that incredible. Um, and he was fantastic. He he actually had hands that were like vice grips,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where his tension was. Uh,
Okay.
and I shook hands with him because I was singing the Renato, and I shook hands with him, and I thought he was going to squeeze my hand off. I said, "Please stop, please stop." Uh,
Ouch.
yes. And I'll tell the story. We had a very funny time. We were doing a rehearsal, and we were doing the gallows scene, and we were supposed to change capes, and he took his cape off and gave me his cape, and I suddenly realized that he had no pants on. and,
Please put your pants on,
and I
right?
was I was dying laughing because I couldn't, and also I couldn't find the top of his cape. So
Right.
I was trying to just massive material. I was trying to find his cape, and so he finally looked at me and started. We both just started cracking up laughing. But I will cherish that for the rest of my life. Just having the opportunity to sing with him, it just was, and he never treated me like I was a prize winner. I was a colleague.
Oh,
You
that
know,
had to mean a lot.
it did. It meant immensely, and I thank the world that he was involved in it.
You know, it's funny because a lot of these people, the people who are at the absolute top of the game when you're coming up, I find that they're all like that. And you have your divas and your divos, but like I said, Leo Nucci was that way, just completely generous, and Sam Raimi was completely generous to me. And Placido Domingo, we did the concert together
Right,
in New Orleans. That's the
right.
first time I met him. Placido Domingo came up to me and he said, "Larry, I'm so excited that you're coming to Washington this year. I've been listening to all your singing," and I thought, wait a minute,
You've
you're
been listening to
Placido
me.
Domingo. You've been listening to me?
Yeah,
What?
yeah,
But
yeah.
you find that people who realize what it takes to sing at the very highest level, they often are the most generous and giving people that you can meet.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I met Placido before that. I was singing in Vienna, and he was there. We did Peg together, and he was there, and he was just a wonderful guy. Um, but I mean, you go through. I have to say that there's one person that I hold very dearly, and I think she's the epitome of what it means to be a positive diva. And
Mm-hmm.
you fortunately interviewed her just recently, and that's Martina.
Ah.
Uh, Martina is kind of like my sister,
Mm-hmm.
and I again I think God forgot a lot of people when they gave her her talent,
Mm-hmm.
and she's been incredibly supportive, and we've been together now with Prelude since 15 years.
I mean, I know that's really about mentorship, really trying to train the next generation of singers. Of course, I love her. I call her auntie. But would you talk about what's that means to you to be involved? Now, I know you're teaching and then being involved with Prelude, giving back, trying to shape these young singers. How much of a joy is that for you, and how much do you want to continue to do that?
Oh, I'm going to do that for the rest of my life. I get so much joy out of doing, and I didn't know that I would actually. I mean, I really love doing Prelude, and I actually did an organization before Prelude, which was ASOP with Nancy Milnes. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
before that, and I studied with Nancy when
Okay.
I came to New York. Um, Nancy Milnes, she's a goddess. What can I say? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but I am. When I got a call when I was in Chicago doing Nabucco, and I get a call from one of my other sisters, Jane Bennell,
Mm-hmm.
who said, "Mark, they're looking for low baritone in Michigan State," and I said, "Good for them." I said,
I'm a tenor.
"Yeah, yeah, really, yeah, yeah, I'm a tenor. Leave me alone." And she said, "No, you should come and you should come and interview for this." I said, "Well, but Jane, I have a job. I'm doing work here." And she said, "I don't care. You should come and do it." If you know anything about Jane Bennell, you know it's really hard to say no to her. Uh, she's a Metropolitan Opera mezzo. They
Mm-hmm.
so she said, "No, you have to come." So we did, and we both immediately fell in love with the place. Uh,
Mm.
and now I have some incredible colleagues. One is the head of our department is Richard Fracker, and all of these people were performers. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Mark Embry and Melanie Hilton and Nisbel, Harlan Jennings, and Eldon Little. These are all performers. So we never had that kind of uh, battle between
Right.
academics, and performers because we're all performers. So
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like they're family now, uh, and I've gotten some incredible students, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and and one of them is out singing now is Brian Major.
Yeah, yeah. I know Brian.
Yeah,
Yes.
and
Yes. I know the baritone.
yeah, yeah, and
Yes. And
doing
his wife,
his wife. Who
Michelle.
is that?
That young lady can sing.
Oh my
Hello?
gosh. She did Prelude. They both did Prelude with us. And she sang Swat Angelica.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm telling you, the ending of Swat Angelica, I've heard a lot, but this girl sang it. I'm telling you, she was fantastic. Uh,
Exactly.
so yeah,
Paula Equality Jackson, she says she's the best of your students.
she is she is tonight anyway.
At least tonight she's the best one, right?
She's wonderful. She really is. And she came actually from Morgan State with Marquita.
Okay. Of course
And
I know Marquita.
I've sung with Marquita many times.
Mm-hmm.
And Paulette is one of these people that really works very hard. She does.
Mm-hmm.
So I will sing her praises for her because I know she will eventually do this anyway. But but no, I'm very proud of her, as I
Did
am for all of my students.
did Paul Robeson mean a lot to you?
As he meant a lot to everybody. Uh,
Right.
he meant a lot to me more as a. I mean, of course, he had a great voice.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great human being, but his ability to want to help society
Mm-hmm.
uh, was bar none, and he took a lot of punches.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was his taking of the abuses that he had to take that it was another one of those people that you kind of go, what the hell am I complaining about?
Mm-hmm.
You know, look what that man went through, being the kind of singer he was, being accused of all these things.
Mm-hmm.
How do you deal with all that? You know,
Yeah. I often say that some of those people were so much greater than I am, or so that than I could ever be. I talked to Mr. Shirley, George Shirley,
uh,
on my second sit down with LB, and you talk to him, and what do I have to complain about? I mean, and I
indeed,
talked to him, and I revere him, and I told him that, but he was the type of person. He wasn't someone that pumped himself up. He just was like, I have a role to play and I play it willingly. I play it because it's what I'm supposed to do. And so that gave me so much inspiration because I could look to people like him and Robeson, of course, Marian Anderson. Of course, you spoke about Martina, Leontine Price, so many of them. And so your role models, when you were thinking as a young black singer, who, in addition to the people that we named, who were the other people that you thought, okay, I'm gonna kind of focus on them just so I could believe and have someone in my mind that I can believe that I can do this thing.
well, there's thousands of them, but I mean, George is kind of like a brother of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, George George was a judge in a competition I did, the GB Dealey Awards, 105 years ago, uh, and I didn't win. I was not one of the winners. And George came up to me and he said, "I don't want to see your face down. I want you to look straight up because the next time these people hear you, they'll be paying for it." And
Wow.
you know, I, even if I had won, I wouldn't have been as happy as what I was like then. You know, and I got an agent out of it.
That's a nugget right there. That's something that you keep and you hold close, and that in those times where it's difficult, you say, okay, I believe it because this person said it.
Right, right. And I of course, I always adored his singing, but I've gotten to know him more as a human being, and just not a better one in the galaxy.
Yeah, love him. There's so many people, and I mean, let's talk about this very briefly.
I also mentioned Bill Warfield.
Yeah, of course. William Warfield is another one.
He was fantastic, and I remember I went to see him in high school. He did an Elijah,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember thinking, I've never seen a showman like this. I mean, it was obviously a great voice, but he did what is it? It's not his word like a fire. And he got to the end and went, but he turned around to the chorus and sang, "It's not his word like a fire." And I went, oh my gosh, I got to learn how to do that. You know?
A rock star, right?
Yes, absolutely. I got to learn how to do that.
Yeah, that's his oh my gosh, Mr. William Warfield. I got a chance to meet him at Opera Theater St. Louis. I think it was maybe just shortly before he passed away, actually. Yeah. But we've lost some, we know that people get older and they die, but, it's so nice to have people like Miss Price that's still around. Of course, she's very much into private life, but, having lost Jesse Norman. But did you ever sing with Jesse Norman as well?
I didn't get the opportunity to do that. I always wish I could have. I almost had the opportunity to sing with Shirley, but I wound up getting changed. I was young, and I wound up going to sing with David DeCure instead. And that turned out to be a very good thing.
Well, I know somebody you did sing with that we know is Carolyn Blackwell. You sang Rigoletto with her, right?
I did.
What was that like?
It was the most fun I've had singing Rigoletto, I think. Carolyn and Peter are just two jewels. And I think if it had not been for Carolyn, I may not have stayed because we had the director from hell. No, I'm just kidding. No,
you don't have to mention who it is, but you can.
No. Actually, she was a very nice lady. I shouldn't say that. It was terrible. But it was an interesting production that I just felt like, oh my God, can I do this? We had the laugh-in doors when they come open,
Yeah.
Well, we had those for Spot with Yield.
Oh.
So that kind of gives you an idea how the production was going.
Slapstick.
Yeah. And it was so funny because there was supposed to be a kind of a rehearsal curtain that goes up. And I'm supposed to see Gilda. And that's supposed to be the And for the dress rehearsal, they couldn't get it up in time. So here I am singing to a rehearsal curtain, and Harold's in the back singing through the curtain. But oh no, I will say one thing though. This is something that was interesting for me. This was the first time I'd ever sung with a black Gilda, and I got so charged by that I thought, yes, we have made it. This is it. And of course, if she just could sing a little bit, she just had some talent.
Just a sliver of talent, at least, right?
My goodness, I don't know what the woman was thinking. No, but then later on, I sang with Nicole Houston, and that was great too because we were both from Lena.
Yes, I'm sure that meant a lot to her. Was she in the audience for that?
Who? Nicole?
No, Lena.
Well, Lena was in the audience for that. Yes. She was.
My gosh, I bet she was about to just keel over at that moment to have both of you on stage.
Oh, I'm
That was
surprised. I'm surprised you didn't question us about our singing. Uh,
that was her that was her legacy essentially.
well, certainly one of them anyway. She, like I said, she influenced so many different people that I just amazed that there were that many people that got so far ahead because of it.
Hmm. Yeah.
Oh, I
Well,
should also mention one other person. I have to mention this person because he's the reason I got this job. No, but I'm kidding. No, this man, he's done so much at the school for diversity, and
hmm
I cannot stop but mention his name, and his name is Dean Forger, uh,
hmm
Jim Forger. There's just not a greater human being on the planet. He has done so much to get diversity in this school, in our music department,
That's
that
beautiful. Yeah.
I just could not mention him.
Yeah. And at Michigan State, you said it's obviously that's one of the important things, that diversity is happening and that it's inclusive of everyone. And we can talk about social issues right now, and much is going on. And I'm a very political person, and I sometimes
Indeed.
I sometimes I put things on Facebook that maybe I should. No, I should do it. I should do
No,
it
you should
because
absolutely.
I think absolutely people need to talk about these things. But how is it? Let me ask you this. I mean, this is not necessarily career, but how do you engage with some of these social issues right now? Are you very vocal, or you try to just keep it close to the chest and close?
Well, I'm not as
Not
vocal. I'm not as vocal as my wife is. No, just kidding. No,
Sadie. No.
no. I don't do Facebook. I
Yeah.
I have a Facebook account that I wouldn't know what to do with it if you slapped me silly with it. My wife does all that. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Now, I am a liberal and proud
Mm-hmm.
of. Uh, I am not happy with the way things are going with the country right now. Uh, I am not. I think November 11th will be very important. November 3rd, excuse me. November 3rd will be important.
Hopefully, November 11th will be already.
That will be already decided. Uh, but November 3rd will be very important. And I think, and I'm very strong about saying this is, without a doubt in my mind, the most important election that this
Mm-hmm.
country has ever faced. And I think people who are questioning whether they want to vote or not, reconsider,
Mm-hmm.
become registered, vote. There have been too many people. We just lost the great John Lewis, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and he was the last person to speak at the March on Washington,
Mm-hmm.
and the youngest person to speak at the March on Washington. He just passed. We
Mm-hmm.
cannot not honor that dedication
Mm-hmm.
without having everybody take advantage of what he fought for and what Martin King fought for and what all of these people fought for. We have to stand up and take time to make things right.
There's so many people who say they don't want to vote. And so I've begun to tell people they don't want to pick between the two people that are running for the president of the United States. But I tell people, and I put on Facebook today, there have been 198 judges picked for all of the courts, lower courts, and everything else. And not one single one of them is black.
Right. And very often none of them are ones we want.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
and even apart from the fact, of course, that side is different. They line up differently, politically, but at least have some diversity, because that means that all of our fates, when we get up in front, all of the people that get up in front of judges, they are going to be judged by someone who doesn't look like them. And I think to have someone, in all of these courts, in every different level, you need to have someone who has empathy and compassion. And so,
yeah.
it's I tell people, don't vote for the president, vote for the Supreme Court, vote for all of these lower courts, vote for John Lewis's, vote for the Martin Luther King Jr.'s, vote for the Voting Rights Act, vote for all of these various things, because that's what you're voting for. Vote for the city, the city politics and all these other people, not just the president of the United States, is so important. And so we don't have to spend a lot of time talking about
Well, I, I
politics.
I tell you, I heard Michelle Obama's speech, which I thought was fantastic. But the one thing that she said that I think people should just remember: if you think things can't get any worse, they can and
Yes.
they will. If
Hmm.
certain people remain in office, get ready. So I am, you know, this is probably the most I've ever talked about this in public. No,
It's already on YouTube.
it's you. You did it.
Mark, oh man, this has been so wonderful.
Um,
Oh, my, I have really enjoyed this conversation and all of these people. Ricky Epps, Kearney, let's see, Ann Pinky's down, Rosenfeld, Leon Brown.
yeah.
So many people that are here. Tiffany Renee Jackson, again, yes. Vote for the black men and women killed by the police. There you go.
Oh,
That's absolutely a reason to vote. But Mark Thompson, Ketterson, Jim
I
Lieberthal,
think you
all
could
of my
say
friends.
I think you could say vote for the people that were killed by the police,
Hmm.
because if you don't, there could be more of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I truly believe that, and we're going to be censored, right? Censored.
Indeed.
But like, why are we talking about politics
Indeed.
anyway?
Well,
Mark,
because we both had to go through it.
there
Um,
you go.
you
Look,
know,
we can have West Coast is in the
I-
house. Darren Flagg, thank you. Chrissy Renee, do you know that name?
my
Charles
niece.
Ingram. Yeah, okay, Chrissy. Is that her, Chrissy Renee? She says Mark Alon Embry, Matt
Yes,
Paul's doll. Yeah, we got some VIPs in the house, and so they're all
indeed.
here in support of you. So Rucker Studio in the house. Look at all Beth Parker, Maureen Fromm. There you
Very
go.
foamy. Yes. Hey.
Yeah, yeah. So all these people, yeah, Jan Burchard. There you go.
Yeah.
So all of these people are chiming in, but
Yeah.
I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. This has been very enjoyable. You and Sadie over there.
Well, listen, I tell you, I'm gonna get off here, but I tell you, I have never been prouder of a human being than I have been of you.
Well,
I think that this will continue to make us strong in opera, and that's a good thing.
well, I appreciate that. We're a part of the mutual respect, and of course, that's why I had to have you on here. I appreciate you. I appreciate all of the people that came. We're contemporaries, but you are a little bit before me as well. But definitely looking at you and others who really made me believe that we could do this. And so this is meant for younger singers to look at and to look at the successes, the struggles, but also the positive energy and feedback and information to give to them. This is very important, and you have been such a important part of that tonight. So I appreciate you for your input and your words of wisdom, but also this very fun conversation, which I like to keep it light, as you understand.
Indeed. Yes.
But this has been very meaningful, so I wish you well. Thank you so much. Continued success in your performances and
You
teaching
too.
and all that you
You
and
too.
do, because we have to keep it going. So I appreciate you, my brother.
Same here.
Definitely,
Same
we'll
here.
see each other. Want to see you very soon, both of you. And until the next time, thank you
All
so
righty.
much. Thank
Bye-bye.
you, all of my friends. Thank you for coming for another episode of the Sit Down with LB. We finished the month of August off strong, and so we had all the women here. We had 4 women, and we finished off with the great Mark Rucker. So happy to have had him tonight. Next week, we will start the month of September, and I will announce my guest. I have some incredible guests lined up for the month of September, and I will announce it this week. But the first one will be next week, and it will be Roberta Alexander from Holland. So tune in next week to the Sit Down with LB. Have a wonderful Sunday. Thank you.